I'd like to introduce the two schools that are with us today, and alhamdulillah, I'm very proud that they're able to be with us today. We have, to my right, Western Grammar School, and to my left we have Unity Grammar. And today for the adjudicator we have Shaykh Yusuf Tang. MashaAllah, Shaykh Yusuf Tang has an MBA and a Masters in Islamic Law with a specialized focus on Islamic finance contracts, and he is the General Manager at ICFAL, who you saw today. Now, without further ado, we are going to start with our debate, inshallah. To my right, we have Western Grammar, who is for the affirmative, and today's topic is that Muslim youth should prioritize careers that make a significant social impact over those that offer high financial rewards. Apologies, guys. Alright. So, to my right is the negative, to my right is the affirmative. For the affirmative from Uni Grammar, we have Mona, Jada, and Mais. And to my right, we have Bahar, Saifudeen, and Marwa. Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We're going to start with our affirmative side, Mona.
Sorry, just bear with me. My voice is a little bit, it's fading out a little. Alright, Bismillah. In today's rapidly changing world, the choices that the Muslim youth make when it comes to their careers are more significant than ever before. The question of whether to prioritize careers that make a significant social impact over those that promise higher financial rewards is a complex and nuanced one. It raises fundamental questions about values, purpose, and the role of individuals in shaping the future of their communities and society at large. As Muslim youth navigate their educational and professional journeys, they often find themselves at a crossroads where they must decide between pursuing lucrative careers that offer financial security and stability and choosing paths that allow them to make a meaningful contribution to society. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fellow debaters, members of the audience, and adjudicator. We, the affirmative team, agree that Muslim youth must prioritize careers that make a significant social impact over those that offer higher financial rewards. First and foremost, we acknowledge that prioritization is the act of giving special attention, preference, or precedence to a particular item, goal, or activity over others in order to address it or handle it first. We understand, as narrated in Bukhari and Muslim by Umar ibn Khattab, that actions are according to intention. Innal a'malu binniyat. Due to this, we know the significance of both things where the intention is correct to the Muslim ummah. Let's take a look at the typical life of an adolescent Muslim. I would like to note that this is just a generalization of the majority, the rule, and not the minority, the exception. Unfortunately, our Muslim youth, my brothers and sisters in Islam, are veering off the path to steadfastness and righteousness. They are falling into drug use and vaping. They are losing the idea of modesty and what the hijab means in Islam. They are loving fast cars and thus getting into car accidents. Now, in retrospect, these aren't bad things. However, they are leading to death. Our young adolescents are dying because of these things, all of which are resulting directly due to their access to money and finance. The nature of an adolescent brain is dynamic and constantly changing. It revolves around risk-taking behaviors, emotional intensity, and an increasing sensitivity to social feedback. If we believe that the Muslim youth should prioritize financial rewards for whatever the reason, we are permitting them to take risks, ones which only guarantee negative returns. We are weaponizing them with access to dangerous things, and we are hindering their ability to grow. On the other hand, if we stand today and believe that the Muslim youth must prioritize careers that make a social impact, we are enabling them to be involved in their community, be equipped to raise the next generation, and ultimately form a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that cannot be interrupted by material things such as money. Careers that offer financial reward can sometimes be beneficial to the Muslim youth, but it should never be the ultimate priority. These careers include financial jobs such as accounting, jobs associated with law, or even jobs supported by the government. I ask, what is it these jobs all have in common? Well, for one, they have limits. They restrict the youth from developing their impact within society through even the smallest of actions. But it's also more than that. It's the fact that they take time and effort and neglect things like the community, ultimately leaving our youth to sit in an office and become too tired to attend the masjid or be involved in charitable events. From this evaluation, it is concluded that careers offering social impact must be the priority. They ensure that careers in not-for-profits, medical assistance, teaching or psychology are being contributed to by the youth and are not being neglected. Monetary rewards may come as a result of these careers, but the ultimate priority for the Muslim youth is to offer significant social impact. I am Muna, and as the first speaker, I will be discussing the history surrounding Islamic priorities and whether society or money ultimately came on top in the past. Our second speaker, Mais, will be outlining the present situation of whether materialism will ultimately benefit the Muslim youth when prioritized, and will be evaluating the inevitable consequences of prioritizing financially rewarding careers. Our third speaker, Jada, will be establishing the clear fallacies in the opposition's arguments and further emphasizing our points. Historically, Islam has never ever needed money. Of the known 25 prophets in Islam, our messengers, Prophet Nuh, Prophet Ibrahim, Prophet Musa, Prophet Isa, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam are increasingly special to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are known as ulul azmi min ar-rusul, meaning the determined and the steadfast. Interestingly, their function and determination was to elicit a positive and effective social and cultural change in order to promote the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and grant society the ultimate salvation. In fact, the major tool used by Ulul Azm was not financial, rather the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it was the Torah, the Gospel, the Psalms, the Scriptures, or the Quran. These books of guidance were the way of life, and their ultimate purpose was to have a social impact. Similarly, the Muslim youth of our current time should prioritize careers which will have a social impact through the understanding of their stories, the Prophet stories, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's seerah. The Muslim youth will see that the work of the messengers mainly revolved around social impacts and was rarely attributed to finance. I invite the negative team and the members of the audience to reflect upon the following story. The Muslims conquered Jerusalem through their fulfillment of their social impact and not through the acquisition of financial rewards. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu walked in with ragged and dirty clothes, pulling the animal with his slave on it. Ultimately, it was his character and his priority of having a social impact that allowed the Muslims to take the keys of Jerusalem and not wealth or financial incentives. Finally, I present the following information. Finance and banking has always been a system related to those of other religions, those of the Jews, those of non-religious cultures, etc., in both historical and contemporary times. There is nothing wrong with this. It's simply a fact. It has never been a focus in Islam, and we are told as Muslims not to imitate nor practice or prioritize that of which other religions prioritize and practice. The Muslim youth must take this on and understand that ultimately their priority is to engage in careers which have significant social impact and allow and understand that the rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will just come naturally.
All right, thank you, Mona. All right, when Western Grammar is ready, we're going to have our first speaker from the negative team, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum and greetings, adjudicator, opposition and members of the audience. The motion for today's debate is that Muslim youth should prioritize careers that make a significant social impact over those that offer higher financial rewards, which my team and I will be negating. My team and I define social impact as the effect on people and communities due to an action or inaction and can be positive or negative. As the first speaker of the negative team, I will be discussing our worldview, which is that financial means are responsible for the revival of the ummah at large. I will further discuss how every job how every job has social impact, but jobs which have the benefit of financial rewards also allow for the encouragement of contributing socially. Finally, I will elaborate on the higher the financial capacity is, the better the social impacts will be. My second speaker will be speaking about how the world we live in necessitates higher paying jobs in order to provide for one's family in an Islamically acceptable manner, and how the biggest social impacts are made through the ones who are wealthy. My third speaker will summarize our team's case and leave you all absolutely convinced that our side of the motion is the most favorable situation. Now, before I begin, I would like to rebut what the opposition had to say. The opposition stated that financial rewards has funded haram behavior, or behavior which compromises Islamic behavior. Despite this being somewhat true, this is an inevitable truth which all individuals face, Muslims or not. As an ummah, we must work together to provide aid and organizations to help individuals who tread along these paths. Additionally, by focusing on attaining a job which is financially rewarding can instead enable individuals to avoid taking such paths. However, by focusing on careers that do not have high financial rewards, as the opposition is arguing, there could be numerous negative social impacts due to the detriments this would have on the economy due to the certain shortages in industries. At the end of the day, the Prophet ﷺ himself wished for more wealthy merchants to join Islam because he knew the positive social aid and impact they would bring to the Muslim Ummah as a result of their wealth. Moreover, they have failed to provide an adequate solution to the risk money poses. It is impossible to neglect high rewarding careers on the basis that money causes issues. The economy would collapse, thus having a greater negative social impact. The opposition also stated that the prophets contributed to significant social impact. Firstly, prophethood is not a career. They were sent down by Allah to fulfill this role. We cannot compare ourselves to them as they were given something special. They do not have any financial aspect to their prophethood. However, careers these days all have financial benefits, whether they're big or small. Also, many significant figures in Islam, like Khadija radiallahu anha, provided significant social impact through her wealth. She was the greatest financial supporter of the Muslims in the early days of Islam. The affirmative team attempted to convince you all that Islam has never required money. However, while it's true that many aspects of Islamic faith and practices do not require money, it's essential to acknowledge that certain key religious practices do involve financial obligations. For example, zakat, charity, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, and the amount of zakat a Muslim pays is directly related to their wealth. This demonstrates that wealth and money have a role in fulfilling fundamental religious duties. Islam also provides guidance on economic transactions and trade, emphasizing ethical and just practices. These principles acknowledge the role of money and wealth in economic interactions. Engaging in ethical commerce often necessitates the exchange of money. Moreover, one of the responsibilities placed upon Muslim men in Islam is to provide for their families. While this may not require excessive wealth, it does acknowledge the importance of financial stability in fulfilling this religious obligation. Now back to my team's case. My team and I's worldview is that financial means are responsible for the revival of the Ummah at large. Regardless of whether Muslims are choosing a societal or monetary-centric worldview, we should assume that they have the interests of the Ummah at heart. Additionally, social impacts that are seen as positive in secularist views, which we have become entangled within, don't necessarily align with Islamic values, which I will further elaborate later on in my speech. For example, LGBTQ, feminism, gender equality, and more. Furthermore, regardless of whether a Muslim has a career that aligns with social impact or higher financial rewards, it is up to the individual Muslim as to whether they want to make a difference or not. It should be acknowledged that every job has an impact on society, whether you're a doctor earning thousands of dollars as a salary or a simple tradie who doesn't earn as much. It is imprudent to assume that one career is beneficial to the Muslim Ummah and another will be unable to have a positive social impact. All careers, in different ways, shapes, or forms, can enable a Muslim to have a positive social impact, but it is one which offers financial security that enables one to have more of a significant impact. We should all know that the role of a man is to provide, which is done through having a job that allows one to be financially stable and earn enough money to cater for their family's needs. The Prophet ﷺ said, "The best of charity is to your needy relatives." And charity is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, as mentioned before, which shows that having a source of income and financial stability enabled through jobs has an immense impact on one's ability to have a positive social impact. The story of Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam involves how he received the test amongst many, including that his wealth was taken away. This highlights that your wealth is something so vital and one should use it in a proper way before it gets taken away, encouraging Muslims to not only earn money, but to use it right, which involves making an impact on society before they are questioned on it. Secondly, careers that offer higher financial rewards usually have notable positive social ramifications. For example, medicine. An individual pursuing a medical career can either become a general practitioner, who, as we say, save lives, or even specialize in different medical fields to research new treatments, diseases, etc., and also potentially save others from harm. A Muslim has a greater ability to have a positive social impact upon the Muslim Ummah with greater financial capacity rather than a job that makes having impact on the Muslim Ummah more convenient, as it is not the means nor the career that defines the difference a Muslim can make. With greater finance, the Muslim Ummah will be better facilitated in many ways. For example, new mosques in locations which need them, charity or Islamic schools for the Muslim population. However, having a career that is inclined towards having a social impact will not necessarily have a greater social impact. For instance, if a Muslim has a career in engineering, they will not necessarily be building orphanages or masjids. Moreover, if their job does not offer high financial reward, they are less likely to be equipped to assist the Muslim Ummah despite their career. Furthermore, having a career that does provide significant social impact does not necessarily mean that the impact aligns with Islamic values. For example, careers like teaching is considered to have a significant social impact, but these careers are being pushed in a direction that contradicts with Islamic values. Currently, children in schools are being propagated with positive secular values such as feminism, LGBTQ, equality between genders, complete freedom, and unfortunately the list goes on. Muslims that seek to pursue a teaching career generally do not have a choice in what they choose to teach. Rather, they have to follow a syllabus given to them by secularists. ABC News quotes that Australian Education Union Federal President Corona Haythorpe stated the following: "We should welcome additional funding for professional development to ensure health and sex education is delivered inclusively, ensuring queer students are safe and affirmed in their classroom. These values severely contradict with traditional Islamic values, which leads us, Muslim youth, to contemplate whether we want to prioritize careers that offer significant positive social impact without considering the negative social impact involved. Therefore, Muslim youth should prioritize careers that offer higher financial rewards over careers that provide significant social impact, considering that every career has a social impact, and jobs that provide substantial financial benefits enable individuals to have a significant social impact." Thank you.
All right, I don't know about you guys, I'm very interested to see how this debate turns out. So far, both speakers have done an amazing job at proving their case. All right, can I get my second speaker for the affirmative, Mais? Thank you, Bahar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen and fellow debaters, the opposition states that financial means is what will ultimately revive our ummah, contribute socially, and the higher the better the social impact is. However, while financial means do play a role in contributing to the well-being of our ummah and facilitating social impact, it's essential to recognise that wealth alone is not the sole panacea. The true strength of our ummah lies in a balanced approach, where financial capacity is used in conjunction with adherence to Islamic principles, ethics, and social responsibility. History has shown that when materialism overtakes social consciousness, societies decline and must not be the priority. Therefore, we contend that it is the integration of financial means with strong moral values and a commitment to the welfare of others that truly revitalises our ummah and fosters lasting social impact, which is the priority, and is what the prompt is essentially asking. What is at the forefront is the prioritisation of social impact. Everything that the opposition is outlining is relating to the priority of social impact. They are literally supporting our point. Brothers and sisters, our stance is clear. Muslim youth must prioritise careers that make a significant social impact. That is the stance of Islam and one we must all follow. In Islam, the emphasis on non-materialistic priorities is evident in numerous verses in the Quran. Allah Almighty states in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 197, and take provisions, but indeed the best of provisions is taqwa, piety. So fear me, O you of understanding. This verse highlights that material provisions are necessary, but secondary to the spiritual and moral development of an individual. Moreover, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ emphasized the value of good character and non-materialistic virtues. Reported by Abu Darda, the Prophet ﷺ said, "The heaviest thing to be placed in the balance of a believer on the day of resurrection will be good character." While financial rewards are not inherently wrong, they should be seen as a means to a greater end, making a positive impact on society. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 267, Allah says, "O you have believed, spend from the good things which you have earned." This verse emphasizes the importance of using one's wealth for the betterment of society. Furthermore, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is a profound example of prioritizing social impact. He said, "The best of people are those that bring the most benefit to the rest of mankind." This hadith underscores the importance of actively contributing to society's well-being and the intention and priority of making social impact, not financial gain. Indeed, beyond financial means, Muslim youth possess a rich arsenal of tools to make a profound social impact. Through sincere supplication, dua, active participation in communal gatherings, the spread of knowledge, as we are doing now, care for neighbours, the nurturing of strong familial bonds, embracing the institution of marriage, and upholding good kinship ties, they can shape a society rooted in Islamic values. By harnessing these tools, our youth can exemplify the holistic approach Islam encourages, making their careers a means not just for personal gain, but also for the betterment of their communities and the world at large, as Islam says. It is crucial to consider the consequences of prioritising careers solely for financial gain. Excessive materialism can lead to selfishness, greed, and neglect of one's social responsibilities. In Surah Al-Hashr, verse 9, Allah warns, "And those who before them had homes in Al-Madinah and had adopted the faith, love those who immigrate to them and have no jealousy in their breasts for what they have been given and give them preference over themselves, even though they were in privation." This verse illustrates the importance of selflessness and prioritizing the needs of others. In Surah Al-Asr, verse 1 to 3, Allah warns about the peril of time wasted in the pursuit of worldly gains at the expense of spiritual development. He says, "By time indeed mankind is in loss, except for those who have believed and done righteous deeds and advised each other in truth and advised each other to patience." This verse emphasizes the success lies in faith, good deeds and patience, not solely in the accumulation of wealth. Historically, we can see how this shift in priorities led to the decline of Islamic societies. When Muslims started prioritizing materialistic pursuits, including the pursuit of wealth and worldly pleasures such as nightclubs and fast cars, they began to lose their hold on the moral and social fabric that had once made them strong. For instance, during the golden age of Islam, Muslim societies were at the forefront of science, culture, and intellectual pursuits. They excelled in various fields, contributing immensely to humanity. This era of prosperity was marked by a focus on knowledge, ethics, and social welfare. However, as materialism gained prominence, Muslim societies began to decline. The shift towards excessive materialism and the neglect of social impact contributed to the weakening of these societies. Prioritizing financial rewards over moral and social responsibilities led to a loss of cultural and intellectual vigor, and in some cases, the erosion of Islamic values. Hence, from the perspective of Islam itself, Muslim youth must prioritize careers that make a significant social impact over those solely focused on higher financial rewards. Materialism is secondary to non-materialistic priorities in Islam, and while it should be viewed as a tool for social good, not a priority. Let us remember the words of our Prophet ﷺ and the wisdom of the Quran as we make choices that benefit our society and bring us closer to Allah. Thank you.
All right, can I please get Saifudeen from Western Grammar School to negate?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, attendees, fellow debaters and adjudicators. My name is Saifudeen and I am the second speaker of the negative team. As mentioned earlier, the topic of this debate is Muslim youth should prioritise careers that offer significant social impacts over higher financial rewards. We, the negative team, disagree with this motion, but before we get into my points, I would like to rebut the opposition's points. The opposition mentioned how Islam has never required money. This is completely false and ignores the contributions of Abdurrahman ibn Auf and Uthman radiallahu anh, who played a massive role in the success of the Muslim Ummah has achieved by contributing their wealth to the help of the Muslim Ummah. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ himself prayed for wealthy merchants in Arabia to join Islam to positively benefit the Ummah. The opposition has mentioned that non-materialistic views must be adopted as a Muslim as financial capabilities encourage materialistic behavior. Despite this being true, materialistic views can connote a negative image. As a team, we established that only money contributes best for our Ummah, not other materialistic items like clothes, jewelry and shoes, etc. Of course, materialism can result in negativity, but Islam is a religion which promotes the middle path, which is emphasized when the Prophet ﷺ narrated, "Do good deeds properly, sincerely and moderately. Always adopt a middle, moderate, regular course, whereby you will reach your target, which is of paradise." Thus, Muslims, we must ensure that the money which we receive is not used in a manner of israf, and instead is used for the betterment of our Ummah. Moreover, the opposition tried to tell you that we are supporting their point. However, this is false, as we are stating that financial rewards don't only benefit the ability of one to support oneself, but can also lead to a social impact, which is a two-in-one benefit, as an individual can work in a job that not only provides them with wealth, but also allows them an opportunity to contribute to society as well. The opposition has quoted verses about taqwa and character. Taqwa is not related to social impact, rather it is inherent. This speaker has also stated a lot of verses about character. This is not related to the motion of the debate. The motion explicitly states careers related to social impact or financial rewards. She has constantly talked about one's character. However, one's character does not relate to social impact. Also, we cannot assume that people who prioritize career that have higher financial rewards do not have good character. That insinuates that Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Uthman ibn Affan and Khadija radiallahu anh have bad character. They were some of the richest Muslims, yet they had a significant social impact financially. The second speaker of the affirmative team tried to tell you that gathering wealth can lead to greed. However, Islam stresses upon humbleness and provides means to avoid feeling superiority in wealth. For example, charity and sadaqah. There are also many examples throughout Islamic history where Muslims contributed to Islam through their wealth. For example, Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anh, one of the wealthiest Sahabas to ever live, used to buy slaves every Friday to set them free. He used his wealth to make a significant impact on society. Why can't we do the same? Furthermore, it is up to an individual Muslim, not his wealth, to determine whether he is greedy. If a Muslim allows his wealth to make him greedy, would he even benefit the community and he chosen a career that was inclined to a social impact? And now on to my points. First, we are faced with the unobjectionable reality of today's society. Rising inflation rates, a possible recession, and ultimately a society ridden with riba. And it is in this social circumstance that this discussion commences. And with this backdrop, in mind that I speak my case. Today, millions of Muslim families, particularly in Australia and the West, are forced into riba for basic necessities, such as a home or a car, because they cannot afford to pay for them in cash. Dealing with interest is explicitly mentioned in the Quran to be haram. And those who consume riba declare war on Allah and His Prophet. It also places Muslims in a weak and restrained position, being tied down by increasing interest rates and thus heftier debts. Being in such a vulnerable position leaves the Muslims with little ability to have significant societal impact, even if they wanted to, which is an unfortunate reality that many Muslims face. Which leads me to my next point. Having higher paying jobs has become a necessity, particularly for us men who are obligated to provide for our families, in order to provide them with an education in an Islamic environment, which facilitates a healthy upbringing, which would ultimately lead to an encouraging, positive societal change, as a result leading to generational societal change. Furthermore, it is often those who are monetarily successful and affluential who have the ability to make significant impacts on society. The Prophet ﷺ himself said, "The best charity is that which is practiced by a wealthy person, and start giving first to your dependents." The message being conveyed from this hadith is clear, that the charity given by wealthy people has increased importance due to the greater potential that a larger amount of charity has to impact society. The hadith also emphasizes the importance of taking care of one's dependents before giving external charity, something that is increasingly only possible for those who prioritize creation of wealth in relation to careers as opposed to careers which are socially focused. An example of a wealthy person making a significant impact is Ali Banat Allah Yarham, who was an incredible businessman who spent all his money in the way of Allah, establishing the Muslims Around the World project, which provides Muslims food and shelter for Muslims around the globe, and undoubtedly having a significant positive societal impact. Another example of a man who was extremely wealthy and used his wealth to help the Ummah is someone we all know, Uthman ibn Affan. During the Caliphate of Umar radiallahu anh, a famine struck and the food stores of Medina were empty, until a caravan that stretched for as long as the eye could see arrived in Medina hauling tons of food. This caravan was sent by Uthman radiallahu anh and was donated to the people of Medina, effectively saving the city from starvation. It takes a little more than to look back to the history of Islam to understand the impact those who were affluent and wealthy had on society. Figures like Abdurrahman ibn Rauf was one of the 10 companions who were promised paradise and was a successful businessman who used his wealth to help the early Muslims, donating to the Muslims who survived the Battle of Badr and funding horses and camels for the early Muslim army. In conclusion, any Muslim can choose to have a significant impact on society, but reality dictates that those who have affluence and wealth will almost always be able to have a greater impact on society than those who are in a less financially stable state. Thus, Muslims should prioritize careers that offer higher financial rewards over those who seem to have an immediate social impact. Thank you.
Alrighty guys, we're up to our last round now. We have one speaker from each team. I think we should give them a few more seconds. This is their last chance to make their final arguments. But hands up, they're doing a great job, right? Hands up, straight up, woo! Alright, now, before we get our last speaker to come up, we have Jada from Indie Grammar. Now guys, it's a debate. They're up at the front. It's fairly nerve-wracking, okay? And I know, now here's the thing. We're not deciding who wins. That's gonna be in your hands, okay? So before we get our third speakers up, and I'm gonna do this twice just to be a little bit more extra annoying, because you know, it's more fun that way. Can I please get a huge round of applause for our last speaker, Jada? Let's hear it. You ready?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear audience. Today I will provide a summation of the case my team asserts in relation to the notion that Muslim youth should prioritize careers that make a significant social impact over those that offer higher financial reward. Before I provide a summation of this debate, I'd like to address the points of the opposition and highlight the fallacies within each of their arguments. From our understanding, the totality of their case rests on three main arguments. The Prophet ﷺ himself comments on the unfortunate nature of humanity to fall into greed and corruption of intentions in the face of financial gain. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu reported that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, "Those who live to accumulate riches will be the lowest except for those who give away such wealth, but those are few." The Prophet ﷺ in all his wiseness acknowledges the tendency of Muslims to stray from the right path after aiming to accumulate riches. He describes these people as the lowest, the absolute lowest. How then can the opposition even propose that we encourage all of our impressionable youth, our future ummah, to strive in this path? This is the destruction of Islam as we know it. The opposition has stated that it is important for men specifically to be able to provide for their families. However, they only need to provide for their families with the minimum of shelter, food, water, education, etc. The extravagance of higher financial rewards, as mentioned by the debate topic, is not what must be prioritized. If we unpack this discussion, clearly we can understand that we are not discussing necessity, we are discussing the extra. And it is evident that to have a significant social impact must be prioritized. As outlined by Abdul Azim Islahi in his famous scholarly work, the 5th of 11 principles of halal and haram is as follows. Whatever is conducive to the prohibited is in itself prohibited. If something is prohibited, anything leading to it is also prohibited. Hence, how can we encourage Muslim youth who are reckless in nature, impressionable, and risk takers, as well as in a Western setting with great fitan surrounding them, to go down a path of wealth and financial reward? It is too easy a path to fall astray on, whether through riba, gambling, exploitation, cheating, or even leading to greed and a change in intention. The path to haram becomes too easy, and this is not something that the youth should be pushed to prioritize. Their first speaker stated that financial means is what will ultimately revive our ummah. However, this point oversimplifies the complex issues which surround our youth currently. Although financial means can definitely aid our Muslims' growth, it cannot be our priority. This issue is not a matter of finance, the issue is a matter of taqwa, or I should say a lack of. Muslims need to focus on building the character of our youth, the very concepts which our Rasul emphasized. The simple sunnahs which made the Prophet ﷺ the most respected historical figure and a symbol of absolute perfection for both Muslims and non-Muslims alike. How do we instill this in our youth? Through halaqat, through social media, tackling the mindsets of our youth, teaching them that finance is worthless in the face of Allah's power and friendship. They also stated that we cannot compare ourselves to the prophets who did not have careers. This is completely absurd. We are told by the Prophet himself to follow his example and to take him as the ultimate role model. And in light of this, he did not possess much wealth. He did not once tell his companions to undertake careers that gave immense financial reward. Rather, he urged the ones that already did have immense wealth to contribute to the ummah with it, lest their wealth be used against them. All these figures that the opposition aim to use as justifications for valuing finance over social impact, Khadija and others, as well as Uthman and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhuma. Firstly, the majority of these figures inherited their wealth and did not achieve it through careers. It is a shame on our part to reduce these major Islamic heroes as attributed to their wealth. Their wealth was a mere fraction of the legacies that they left behind. Their lives were dedicated to socially straightening our ummah, dedicated to uplifting the spirit of the Muslims internally before even considering expansion. The opposition cannot even attempt to degrade them by attributing their influence to mere finance. The second speaker mentioned that zakat is a major obligation in Islam. I pose a question to the opposition. What are the implications of such an obligation? Do Muslims not possess the nisab for an entire year? Is zakat not restricted to a mere 2.5%? This is absolutely nothing. Most Muslims living in the West today do not require a major financially strong career to reach this nisab. In fact, I can even argue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala left this threshold so low to specifically highlight how insignificant monetary contributions are. And He has relieved the burden of those who cannot afford it, further proving that one does not need to dedicate their entire lives and careers to fulfill this obligation. Now I will enforce our stance and arguments. Over the course of history, the Muslims have been the underdogs, at least through a materialistic lens. We have been the poor, the persecuted, the disadvantaged, the outnumbered, the tormented, the abused, and the monetarily destitute. We have never been associated with the careers of great financial rewards. We have never been the rich with notes and banks. That was always the kuffar. That was always the Jews. We are not a nation that should be sitting here considering altering our priority of taqwa and touching the hearts of the world around us through our miraculous ayat and our Quran, our character and our beautiful unwavering conviction in the Lord of the universe. Money is not our flex. Money is not our priority or our objective, and it never has been. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu described us all as the most humiliated people on earth until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the honor through Islam. He said that if we were ever to seek honor through anything else, then Allah would humiliate us once again. So imagine our lowered ranks when we seek honor through financial gain. All of our khulafa died wearing rags and clothes that were torn. They fought honorably through battles, dying in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the most successful due to nothing but their taqwa. Are we so far more advanced than these warriors that we need financial avenues to achieve what they achieved in the middle of the desert with nothing but each other and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's support? On a practical scale, let's analyze the consequences of prioritizing financial impact. What effects will this encouragement have on our youth? We are already situated amidst a greatly westernized background, with fitan widespread amongst the Muslim youth of our modernized society. The youth are already in a state of worrying fragility. They already lack the level of taqwa that our predecessors had. They are already nothing like the youth that the Prophet ﷺ raised, Aisha radiallahu anha and Ali radiallahu anhu. The last thing they need is to be encouraged by the Islamic leaders and authorities to go down a path of financial priority. It's a rickety and dangerous path, even for well-grounded adults who have high iman. There is too much leeway, especially in such an environment where riba underpins almost every financial transaction lurking behind the doors of every bank. Unfortunately, even most of the Islamic ones. The path to haram earnings becomes too accessible to impressionable and easily influenced young people. The future generation of Islam lies in their hands. We cannot in any way, shape or form compromise them. And unfortunately for most, that is where the prioritization of money leads. Down a hole of greed, arrogance, tabarruj, riba, haram dealings and haram trade. The way our countries run evidently are by kuffar. Our entire economic systems are run on interest-based transactions and principles which completely oppose Islam. Youth should not be encouraged to run to this, rather away from it. What the opposition claims is nothing short of completely revolutionizing the way Islam is viewed. We have never been known as a people associated with money and pursuance of financial gain. To say that we're going to push the youth to do so is an innovation of our Islamic values. It is manipulation of the principles and priorities which underpin the teachings of our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the many before him. As the Prophet ﷺ outlined in his final sermon, he left us with the Quran and the Sunnah and said that if we follow them, we will never go astray. Not once in his life did he stress the importance of monetary reward over that of social impact. Not once did he say that young people of our Muslim society should dedicate their lives to making money, no matter the intention. However, he did stress the importance of the Jum'ah prayer, congregating the Muslim men and unifying in the expression of brotherhood. He did say a smile is sunnah, emphasizing the kindness we express within our societies. He did say that the best of you is the one that learns the Quran and teaches it to others, highlighting the value we place on educating each other and strengthening our knowledge within our societies. These are the aspects of the sunnah that we need to instill in our youth. We are not here to plant seeds of Western culture in our youth. We are not here to replicate the attitudes of the Jews and kuffar and associate Islam with mere monetary value. Because what we have is far more valuable than financial reward. What we have is taqwa. And not one Sahaba, Prophet or Messenger ever even attempted to compare the value of that to making money. So who are we as a contemporary Islamic society in the background of the West 1400 years later to propose the same? Thank you.
The tension's really heating up. I mean, I know the AC is cold, but man, it's getting hot. I wonder what's going to happen next, man. Oh, all right, bismillah. Guys, all right, I keep to my word. So we're about to have our last speaker. Thank you so much, Hindi Grammar. You did amazing. Now we have our last speaker for Western Grammar. We have Marwa. And as promised, can we all give her a cheer before she starts up? Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum, adjudicator, opposition, and members of the audience. My name is Marwa Mehraby, the third speaker of Western Grammar School. As discussed, the motion of today's debate, Muslim youth should prioritise careers that make a significant social impact over those that offer higher financial rewards, which as a team we disagree with. Before I summarise my team's case to leave you all absolutely convinced with our side of this debate, I would like to refute what the opposition has stated. The first speaker of the opposition has stated that the accumulation of wealth is sought for through an un-Islamic or haram ways which compromise one's iman and Islamic values. Despite this being an inevitable truth of today's reality, it's essential to remember that individuals are held accountable for their actions, not the money itself. Money as a tool is neither inherently good nor evil, it's how people choose to use it that matters. Blaming money for haram behavior overlooks personal responsibility. The problem lies in the misuse or misappropriation of money, not in money itself. Money can be used for both positive and negative purposes depending on the intentions and choices of individuals. Islam emphasizes personal accountability for one's actions and provides a comprehensive framework for financial ethics and transactions, emphasizing honesty, transparency, and fairness in economic dealings. Blaming financial rewards for haram behavior disregards the importance of adhering to these principles. As Muslims, we believe in the concept of accountability in the hereafter, and blaming money for haram behavior does not absolve individuals of their responsibility before God. The opposition has also stated that wealth is not the only way to support our ummah. As a team, we do not completely deny the fact that wealth is not the only solution. Instead, we state wealth is one way in which our ummah can be supported. The opposition constantly discussed how social impacts form taqwa. Yes, this is true, but in a manner but imagine a world which they have provided for us, one where money is used recklessly and in a manner which negatively affects individuals and society, compromising one's iman. Imagine being tested with such events in one's course of their life. Imagine coming out of such a test that has been placed upon them, coming out with a better deen, more knowledge and understanding of Allah and faith. Do you not think this would better form taqwa? One where direct experience forms a better understanding and creates consciousness towards Allah. For those who don't turn back, they can be put into youth organizations or other facilities that will help them get back onto the right track and build their character. The opposition has also stated that financial means provide a way for acting selfishly and following materialistic desires. This is true as it is the nature of all human beings. However, a true Muslim will not forget social causes, as Islam places a heavy emphasis on taking care of society, whether you're financially able or not. The Quran mentions in Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 15, that the true believers are only those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, never doubting and strive with their wealth and their lives in the cause of Allah. Therefore, as seen through this verse, a true Muslim will strive with their wealth for the sake of Allah. Striving with their wealth also means that they will give charity and spend it in the path of Allah. The affirmative team constantly conflates having a high-paying job with being greedy. That is a logical fallacy, as these are completely different subjects. You can have a high-paying job without being greedy. The opposition also stated that having higher paying jobs leads to riba. However, it is quite the opposite. Having less wealth pushes Muslims to riba through an inability to afford essentials such as a home. The opposition also mentioned that we must follow the way of the Prophet, and we understand this, we must follow the Sunnah. But should we avoid the companions, the way of those who were closest to the Prophet, like Uthman radiallahu anha? The Prophet ﷺ stated in a hadith that follow my sunnah and the sunnah of the rightly guided caliphs after me, one of which was Uthman. They also stated that Khadija, Uthman, etc. did not obtain their wealth through a career, which is completely false under any circumstances. Khadija, upon her father's death, took over his business and traded goods in the major commerce centers at that time, from Mecca to Syria and Yemen. Uthman, what did he do? Work as a successful businessman through his own efforts. Additionally, they have also stated and have raised the issue of materialism, which is the downfall of the Muslim Ummah. And yes, it is. However, materialism can come from anything. Also, it is on a Muslim whether they're materialistic or not. If they are a true Muslim, they won't be materialistic. and wealth may cause materialism if it is used incorrectly. A career aligning to a positive social impact can also cause materialism if a Muslim does not use it properly. The opposition further has stated an incorrect fact. Yes, sorry, I already discussed this. The opposition has further stated that making taqwa is synonymous to social impact. Further elaborating, it is imprudent since anyone can have taqwa through alternate ways. They have also stated that Allah may have lowered the percentage of zakat to emphasize how unimportant monetary contributions are to the ummah. However, in reality, monetary contributions is what feeds millions of Muslims in poverty every day. Now, let's move on with my team's case. Our first speaker, Bahar, introduced our team's worldview by emphasizing how financial means instead provide stability and the revival of our Muslim ummah. Bahar discussed how all jobs have some sort of social impact. However, it is the finance that a Muslim is equipped with that enables one to leave a greater impact. For instance, a poorly paid engineer who might have the potential to build a masjid, for example, would actually be in a worse position to aid society than a well-paid software developer. Furthermore, focusing on a career that offers high financial capacities will enable Muslims to not only contribute to society but to fulfill their roles that have been ordained, such as a man's Islamic requirement to provide for his family. Say a man, a husband, who must provide a roof over his wife and children's heads, works in a financially lower status job. Rent wouldn't be paid, potentially, bills would be long overdue, etc. Ultimately, he would be unable to fulfill his role as ordained by Islam. Our second speaker, Saifudeen, discussed how our worldview tackles practical issues faced by Muslims in contemporary societies such as riba, escalating inflation rates, etc. He also highlights the importance of securing high financial paying jobs for men as they are responsible for providing for their families. And he also discussed the example of Ali Banat, Allah yarhamu, a man who accumulated financial stability which was ultimately utilized for the purpose for Allah's pleasure through his many life works. Thus, attaining a career that is financially driven will better equip an adherent to make a positive impact upon the ummah. Hence, for the betterment of the ummah, Muslim youth should prioritize careers that offer higher financial rewards over significant social impact. Thank you.
Okay, as Sheikh Yusuf Tang wraps up with his notes, I want to say a huge jazakallah khair to both teams. MashaAllah, these students, they did the work, guys. They chose to come in on a weekend. They chose to make these arguments, and they did it, yes, to improve themselves, but they also did it for the sake of Allah. And I pray that Allah rewards you guys, and I can't wait to see the impact you guys make on the ummah. It's truly heart-touching, and I have thoroughly enjoyed listening to both sides.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I want to congratulate both teams for coming out here today, mashallah, and spending their time up here dealing with all the preparation and the nerves to stand up in front of a crowd. And it's really difficult to do, mashallah, and it's amazing that they can do it at this age, because I remember when I did my first debate at high school, I literally got up, I looked around the crowd, and I sat back down. I just couldn't do it. Subhanallah. And so it's actually an amazing job what these young ladies and gentlemen are doing right here. I can't express how impressed and amazed I am at the caliber of the arguments, the voice, the confidence that they portrayed, and also the extensive use of the Quran and Sunnah and general information on news and facts and figures. I'm just going to provide some brief notes on what I benefited from the Unity grammar, the affirmative case, and then I'll provide some notes on the negative case, Western grammar, and then I'll wrap it up. I won't keep it too long. Look, I am just going to focus on the positive aspects. I know you're normally meant to come up positive, negative, and ways to improve, but I'm so impressed that I'm just going to focus on all the positive, because I think it's good to spread those positive vibes. So From Unity Grammar's perspective, look, I liked how definitely all speakers had the confidence, had the structure, it was all there, and it takes a lot of preparation to do that. So the voice, using the voice to emphasize particular points, having the confidence of the actual rebuttals of the other case as well, it's absolutely right there. What I liked was the use of the Quran and the Hadith. They spoke about the intention. They pulled on my emotional strings when they spoke about, oh, here's what the youth are doing, and I'm like, oh, mashallah, yeah, that's true, you know. And don't worry, I'm going to get to Western grammar as well. So I felt that was a good use of the Quran and Sunnah, and also a good use of, I felt, the practical examples and the emotional aspects of their case as well. I wrote down heaps of notes, but if I go there, we were going to be here for the rest of the afternoon. I liked the aspect of the second speaker spoke about a lot of community benefits and how social impact can be used to make change, using many of these other means to affect change, not just from a financial perspective as well. And likewise, you know, all three speakers, I just want to emphasize again, the voice was there, the communication skills, the emphasis, mashallah, amazing. And finally, look, the conclusion was also very strong. I noticed again, I don't know whether it was deliberately done, there was a lot of tugging of the emotional, of the emotions as well, speaking about the youth, speaking about the societal impact as well. I like the use of there was a use of an argument where a fiqh was used about the zakat and all those things as well. So I thought that was great. I like it. I'm a sort of like a legal, Islamic finance legal person. So that was used very well to conclude and summarize the argument, and bringing it all back together in where it's important to, as Muslims, our legacy is about leaving a social impact as well. So thank you very much for Unity Grammar. I found it very beneficial, and I really enjoyed that case as well. And mashallah, amazing, Allahu Akbar. So from the Western grammar side, likewise as well, look, you know, it's funny. I actually felt the automatic reaction for many of the people would be thinking about how the financial side is more of a difficult case to argue, because exactly what Unity Grammar said, look, you know, Islam promotes societal impact, but they actually managed to use the Quran and the Sunnah and the facts to argue their case very well as well. So I'm just going to go back to my notes so I make sure I don't have them all mixed up. Yeah, so I liked how they started off with a lot of the points around sort of disassociate. So affirmative, there was a lot of associating the argument with, you know, look, wealth is not necessarily a good thing because it could take away from the taqwa. And then I liked also how Western grammar tried to sort of separate that between, look, you can be very wealthy and you can have taqwa as well. They do not necessarily need to go hand in hand. So I liked how they consistently, through their arguments, separated, tried to separate the two cases of wealth and taqwa, and at the same time, you know, rebutting those strong arguments from the Unity Grammar team. And likewise as well, all the speakers, mashallah, had good use of voice, eye contact, the emphasis. I mean, it's amazing. Allahu Akbar. You know, and if I was to compare that to the khutbah that's given on a normal week in Sydney, you know, it's right up there. All these talks are right up there. Very confident. The delivery is amazing. So, like, I can go on and on about delivery, but, you know, and I know there's feedback that's need to be provided on that, but it's all very top notch. MashaAllah, tabarakallah as well, the delivery. So, just going back to that point, I like the separation of the wealth and the taqwa, and not assuming that, look, someone's wealthy, they can have that someone that's wealthy is not necessarily going to be religious or not religious. So going back to the intention as well. So they, not sure if it was rebutted, but they used the initial point raised about intention to their benefit as well, where it goes back down to the intention of the individual making the wealth and progressing on with their lives. And look, I know I'm taking more of your time as well, but at the same time, the conclusion was also strong. I felt that those comments that Unity made around the roles of making money, striving for wealth, also sort of dealt with very well from the Western Grammar team, speaking about how there's many, and providing those many examples of how Muslims can be very wealthy and make money at the same time. But the key thing that I got out of this was, number one, I felt that both sides used the Quran and the Sunnah very well to prove their points. And it really goes down to, subhanAllah, how Islam is broad enough to encompass all those things. You'll notice when you sit with some of the scholars on Islam, they can take any topic and they'll come with all the references from the Quran and Sunnah and all the arguments to make it as if that topic is one of the most important aspects of Islam. And I felt that both parties did that really well. So I felt that Unity did really well in sort of extracting all the benefits of Islam for their case, and likewise Western Grammar did really well in extracting all those sort of benefits to support their case as well, which sort of underpins the point that Islam is very general and broad enough to recognize all those views. And I'm sure I'm probably going to be told I'm taking too much time, but let's present the awards. So overall, Jazakum Khairan for, again, both schools did an amazing job, and thank you very much for being here today. And I need to present these. That's for Unity? Yep. Okay, Unity, thank you so much. All the same. Thank you so much, Jazakum Khairan. And thank you so much. Jazakum Khairan. Thank you very much for being here today.